This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed Podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's Partnership Coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Brian Linehan from Crooked Fence Marketing. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, kind of your journey up to this point in your career, and kind of what you're working on now?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in marketing my entire career, so I've kind of touched on a lot of different facets of the marketing world. Really started out when I was still in school. I actually traveled on the Do Tour, which is kind of like the X Games, doing more like experiential marketing, which was a great experience, being able to kind of travel throughout the country. Then, kind of made shifts to more of like corporate, working at like I said, higher corporate, marketing. Got to a point there where they were restructuring, and I took that as a sign to get out when I could and start my own thing. So, Crooked Fence Marketing started in 2017. It has evolved from, offering a lot of different things, that being, paid social traffic, email marketing, Google, to really focusing strictly on paid social traffic, right now. I do some email work with, some other partners as well, but, the primary focus is definitely with the paid traffic side of things.
Great. So, I'm sure they get this question a lot, but why do you decide on this name? I always like to hear people's stories around
Yeah.
their names.
Um, do you want the real story or the made up story?
I would love both, actually, because it'd be funny to see the dichotomy of both.
Yeah. The thing is, I'll try to like make up something, to be honest with you, and like especially on the fly, like, I'm like, eh. But honestly, there was a fence at my yard, when I first moved in, that was literally that, crooked fence, and that's, I don't know,
You were inspired.
that's how I got inspired with it, and like, I don't know why I went with it, but I did. And the funny thing is, I get a lot of people that ask that too, and it works. It works, and it gets people talking, I guess, right? So it's all good.
I think that everyone's always curious about a name that's not someone's last name or first name, because I feel
True.
like that's usually
Yeah.
the case in marketing. Very common
Yeah.
to have your agency named after the CEO or the founder. So
Right.
I
Or,
always
or,
like to
some, or
ask.
some like, the initials or something like that, using like the initials, as
Mhm.
part of it. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Crooked Fence is original.
It
You should
is.
own
It is.
that Crooked Fence.
Exactly.
Did you maintain the crooked fence in your yard, or it's like an homage?
It's been replaced. The fence is very much straight now.
Darn. Wow, that's kind of upsetting.
I know. I don't tell everyone that.
You should have framed it or something
I
like that. Like,
know.
take a
I should.
picture, put it in your, behind you with your diploma.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, um, okay, so actually, this is a great thing because you were inspired by something outside of marketing for your
Yeah.
marketing business. So, what is something, and this might be a little difficult. Some people have trouble thinking of this one because it's on the fly. But do you, what is the best advice that you think you've received outside of the marketing space for marketing?
outside of the marketing space for marketing. That's tough. I think just with anything, whether it's life, work, whatever it is, you know, always be open to new relationships, like keep your nose down, like continue to do what you're striving for. I think if you continue to work toward whatever it is, whether it's in, life, business, whatever, continue to push for what that goal is. And if that's something that you're passionate about and you want to achieve and you actually put in the effort to attain that, it's totally worth just going for it.
I like that. I mean, I think a lot of people try to pick like a very specific thing, but I think like an overarching theme is
Okay.
very important, especially for advice. Because if you name some celebrity that inspired you in the marketing space, I think some people can always take that.
Oh yeah,
Because
no, I can't really name a celebrity that no, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different like faces out there, like within the marketing space too. That don't get me wrong, there's tons of people out there that that I'll follow and watch, and they're very smart. I couldn't pick one or the other. I think just being able to apply different principles to whatever it is that you're doing in life is important, because if you have a clear focus, it's going to allow you to, work toward that ultimate goal again, regardless of what it is.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think that a lot of people in the marketing space, like to arrow their opinions a lot of times on LinkedIn. I love seeing LinkedIn posts,
Yeah.
especially the bizarre ones. Those are the best. Ones like,
Right.
my wife left me, and here is 5 tips on how to grow your business. Um,
Well, but then you gotta think like with all of that, like scripted, like the scripted content out there, whether it's LinkedIn or any of the other social platforms, like, yeah, okay, is that even true? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Did you really?
Exactly. So I think it's you kind of got to take everything with a grain of salt to an
Yeah.
extent, but at the same time, I think it's interesting all the different opinions that are out there. And that's a big thing about the podcast is we get everyone's opinions on how they're doing it. There are things that everyone's doing things very differently and everyone's successful in their own ways. So it's
Right.
really cool to um I'm always interested in how people are getting their inspiration for the way they do things. Some people are inspired by solely themselves and their own journey, and a lot of people are inspired by others. So it's always interesting to find out.
Yeah. I mean, it's, working with other people too, within your industry is going to inspire you, I think, too. Like you kind of get out of your, um, if you get in tunnel vision and you're always doing the same thing, it's always good to be collaborative and talk to other people so that you can be inspired, with maybe something that other people doing it a different way that you might not have thought of. So I think that's definitely important as well. So just
Yeah, of
kind of
course.
thought from your previous point.
Yeah, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and, it might lead to success, but it also, you're not looking at the possibility of doing something differently and then making more
Right.
success out of that. And I think
Right.
that watching other people or, talking to other people and being influenced by them and their decisions are it's really helpful in the space. And I think
Absolutely.
agency work sometimes has trouble with that about
Yeah.
talking about their things and their strategies and being very isolated in that way, and
Right.
I like when I see more communication in the space.
Absolutely.
So do you think that you talk about humor a lot, I've noticed. Do you think that humor is crucial for a marketing role?
I mean, I think so. I mean, whether it's on the creative end, trying to, put together new creatives that are going to incite some sort of, emotional reaction, whether that's using humor or whatever. But I think it doesn't even have to be marketing, to be honest with you. Like everyone in their own career, like is going to be focused on what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, right? You need to be able to lighten up and, have these, times of laughing and joking, just so that you can kind of get your brain to, get out of that constant work mode and be able to, just lighten up for a few, even if it's 20 minutes out of the day, and just, having a laugh, um, is definitely going to allow you to, you know, keep it fresh, keep it healthy. And, um, yeah, yeah, it's something I think is just overlooked. And a lot of us might not do it as much as we probably should. But yeah, I think just, being able to even just being able to joke with like, anyone that you're working with too. Like, like let's stop being as serious as we are, throughout the day, and maybe just have a laugh, talk about something that's not work related,
Mm, I 100% agree. I think that my brain would melt if I didn't have humor throughout my day. Um, I I think that it's something that's so important, not only for the marketing space, because I think it helps you be more creative, especially if you're in content creation. I think that's something that's so unbelievably important. I think humor is something that catches people's eye before anything else.
Yeah.
Creativity, of course, they kind of go hand in hand. But
Right.
being able to be in a space that is like, I guess, somewhat serious as a rule, but to be able to bring humor into that is special. And I think that it makes everything more fun, and to be able to interact with people that appreciate humor. That's my favorite thing on the podcast is having to laugh, because I know it's been a good podcast if I get to laugh.
Right. Right.
Not to say anything bad about the serious schmoes out there. They're they're probably fantastic. I appreciate a serious person as well. But I do, it makes your day better. It makes you smile. It just,
Yep.
Speaking of, okay, so I like to play a little game during the podcast,
All
where I
right.
ask questions that aren't related to marketing, and I'd like to ask you one of them. We're not gonna go through all of them, um, but just to maybe get some laughs.
Yeah.
So my favorite question is, how many eggs do you think that you can consume in a waking day?
How many eggs?
Yeah.
Uh,
You can eat them anyway, any style. You just have to eat the
okay.
eggs.
Um, I don't know, 12.
Lame. I think you could do more. I think you're selling yourself short.
I probably could, but the question is, do I want to?
Well, that's the game, is how many think you could.
I don't know. We want to double it and go to 2 dozen. I don't know.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
you could.
All right.
I'm always trying to push people to a
Make a
higher number.
huge omelet. Huge omelet.
Yeah, one really big omelet, like
Yeah.
Guy Fieri style
Yeah.
omelet.
Take taking it to Flavor Town, right?
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Now we're gonna move on to more marketing questions. Now that I caught you off guard. Okay, you'll be thinking about
Yeah,
that.
right.
Okay, so um, okay, so how about let's talk about Black Friday, since that's something that's coming up. I'm not. It definitely won't be coming up when this podcast is posted, but um, I'm sure that it's always still relevant because Black Friday comes every year.
Yeah.
Um, Do you think that it is like, how important do you think that it is for a business to take advantage of opportunities like Black Friday?
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity for any business that is looking to, add incremental revenue going into the end of the year. You know, I actually recently did some content on this topic, and like, you know, I don't think it needs to be I don't think it needs to be reinvented in terms of like what you need to do to get that incremental revenue toward the end of the year. You guys as a creative agency, like that's obviously important, that being creative. And I think that is definitely important for Black Friday. And I'm speaking more to like paid social traffic and just advertising in general. But I think most consumers know that their favorite brands are going to be having a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. Um, if you're running paid traffic, like biggest thing I think is really scaling up leading into that time period with the ads and with the content that you know is working best. Um, Obviously, you've already got traction behind it. So scaling budget where it makes sense is, first lever to pull. Um, should you be focused entirely on creating all brand new Black Friday content? Absolutely not. I think you should definitely include some of that, as kind of like a layer onto what's already working. Um, but in terms of putting too much focus on the creative aspect, I don't think that's necessary. Just based on the fact of consumer behavior every year, knowing that there is going to be a ton of Black Friday sales, um, no matter what it is that you want.
Mhm.
I mean, it's been going on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks already. Some of them start at the beginning of November. So, obviously the real push is, right now, I mean, we're at the 26th of November. I mean, big push, this week going through obviously early next week.
So you don't think it's really important for anyone to kind of like reinvent the wheel when doing a sale on Black Friday? It's kind of like it's expected of the services that are going to do it, and it's kind of like just participated and be able to put money where you think it'll advertise the best?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your first part of your question, it is almost expected.
Mhm.
I think consumers do expect whatever that brand or service or product is that they're, looking for, that they will have some sort of offer for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday time of the year. Um, in my head, in terms of what I'm thinking, like you don't need to reinvent it because essentially that they already know or they already expect it to happen. And when it comes to running, when it comes to running paid social traffic on your, Meta, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, if you have content that's already working and ads are already working on there, the biggest thing you can do is just push more budget behind that. It's just because you don't know if the new ads that you're going to launch, or specifically for Black Friday, are going to hit maybe as well as ones that are already working. Um, so just leveraging what you already know works is the biggest thing. Versus having to push out a ton of new creative that is unproven and you don't know if it's necessarily going to hit or not.
Hmm. I think that's really great advice. I think a lot of people would probably put a lot of resources into a campaign like that.
Yeah,
That yeah, you're right. Like they're not positive if it works or it's a foolproof plan.
right.
How do you suggest maybe someone in a very competitive space would go about navigating something like that?
Um, do you want to give an example?
Um Okay, well, I'll give an example as Penji. So Penji, there's a bunch of other creative subscription services, especially
Yep.
like since we began, there's probably been hundreds that have been added
Right.
to the space. If we were to advertise for Black Friday, which we already are, so unfortunately we can't take any of your advice. But um, if we were to advertise, how do you think you would do it? So that
Yeah.
we're kind of put in front of these other competitors.
Yeah, I mean the obvious thing is, what's going to set you apart from the competitors? I mean, what's your USP, that's going to make people want to choose you over someone else.
Mhm.
I mean, to your point, there's a ton of different creative uh services out there that you can choose. Um, the biggest thing, I mean, having worked with, several, like what are maybe some of the pain points that these other ones are, you know, maybe experiencing from user experience, like in terms of like overall, um, creative, what's the word I'm looking for here? Um, I don't cut this part out. Um, um, I can't think of the word, but just turnaround
Yeah.
time for creative. I mean, if that's a pain point with other creative services that are being used, then and you see that across the board, like with different testimonials for that, for whatever that other service is, leverage that saying that, our turnaround time is, 24 hours guaranteed or X.
Mhm.
So I think just trying to find those pieces that are going to set yourself apart from the competitors is really what's going to be what you should use for the messaging in, not only any Black Friday sales, but just, I mean, throughout the year, really. Especially if you're in such a competitive space.
Yeah, leverage your differences. What sets you
Yeah,
aside from these that make you attractive to your customer base.
right.
That makes complete sense. So okay, I guess in the same vice, how do you go about finding the and maybe correct me if I'm wrong if this is something that a conflict that you run into. Um, how do you go about finding the correct interest group to target ads for a company that is unsure of their ICP?
I mean, there's a lot of testing involved.
Mhm.
I mean, we want to try to get as much information out of the client as possible in terms of who they believe their target avatar is. I think that at least builds a foundation of like who you should be targeting. Obviously, interest audiences, within Meta, that's only a small portion of it. So I think obviously coinciding who you believe and who the client believes is, or what they're interested in, being able to find relative interest audiences based on that. Um, but also, I mean, sometimes you got to think outside the box as well. Like maybe targeting someone, some interest stacks that doesn't even necessarily make sense for that client potentially. Immediate thought is why would you target them? But the thing is, you don't know. You really never know. Um, who could actually, what kind of audience would actually resonate, based on whatever that offer is. I mean, outside of that, obviously, building your custom audience is just as important. Making lookalikes from your customer list, from your buyers. That's going to build, a stronger audience, based on the input that you're putting into Meta and building out those lookalike audiences as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I ask because I know that I do see sometimes a common trend of a lot of businesses that think that they know who their audience should be, but sometimes it's
Yeah.
not correct. And they go to
Right.
marketing agencies asking to be they want traffic from this specific group, but it's not necessarily what will make them the most successful.
Right. Yeah. And I think testing that again, testing is super important, but testing that and then proving to them, whether it's accurate or not. If it's not, you show them the metrics and say, listen, this is who you thought was your target audience. It's really not who is converting with you guys, based on the data that we're seeing here. And I think that also needs to be taken with a grain of salt too, where it's like you're coming to me to run your ads, you know, let me figure out, what that audience may look like, based on what you're telling me your target avatar is. So, I think let the agency do what they do best. Give us the information that you believe is your audience, and we'll try to find that audience within a given audience set.
Yeah, no, I think that sometimes different other agencies or businesses kind of need a nudge um
Yeah.
towards the right direction. I think it goes back to the point that we kind of made earlier about how um some people do something for so long and it's like they see that it's
Yeah.
working, so they continue to do it, but they don't see how much better it could be if they did something slightly
Right.
different or they added to that.
Right. I mean, you almost kind of got to have like, it's working, but then having this other silo over here, always testing different, elements or different audiences or different creatives that, are unproven, but you never know what kind of wins you could get out of that as well. So, having your main drive, and then obviously this other silo as well, where trying to discover new elements, new pieces, new audiences, whatever it is that you're trying to find, but continuing to have that and try to stay at least one step ahead, so that when if something happens, whether it's within the advertising platform, whatever it may be, if it's some change that's coming down the pipeline, or anything like that, at least you have this other avenue that you can kind of try to leverage, because you've already been working on that, alongside your main objective or audience, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's made me think of the idea that, with this is gonna sound strange at first. With plants, when they do something, when they create a homogenized version of a plant and there's not different genetic codes, a lot of times that plant gets a disease and dies out because they don't have differences in the genetic code. So it's like if an agency or a business is doing something the same way for a really long time and something happens with the market that they can no longer do this way,
Right.
they're kind of screwed because they haven't tried
Yep.
any other different methods of doing it. It's like during COVID, if someone's strategy was to go out on the street and find people to join, be a part of their business, they can't do that anymore because we're not allowed to go outside.
Yeah, right.
So or it's, similar to, like, customer bases, like, a lot of businesses, weren't able to, continue based off of their customer base because it was relatively
Yeah.
in person, or a business that went out of business that they were also getting business from because of
Yeah.
the way in which their business works. And I think, yeah, that having that diversity and that willingness to try different things saves you in these kind of situations.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not only like siloed to one platform. I mean, you should be diversified across numerous platforms too. Um, you know, if you're just advertising on, Meta, say, um, and you're not doing anything anywhere else, like, that is a recipe for disaster.
Mhm.
Because when things, hit the fan, or when and if they do, you have no other traffic sources coming in. What's your plan now? Like, to just be reactive? So I think being proactive, having a diversified traffic sources is super important. Like, I get it. Like, you need to spend money to make money. So I mean, I get it. It costs money to advertise, but pigeonholing yourself onto one platform is never a good idea.
Yeah, what if that platform crashes or it gets new terms of use and those
Restriction,
are even
all that.
advertised
Yeah.
in the same way you did? Yeah. Uh-huh. These are things
Yep.
that does happen very often. It's not even something
Sure
that's
does.
just I mean, it is random. That's the worst part about it is that you can't expect it
Right.
sometimes, which is why you need to diversify what you're doing. Especially when
Right.
we had the transition of Twitter to X. That was probably crazy for some people that were advertising on the platform.
Right. Right.
So there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into what can make or break a business. So being able to
100%.
diversify your strategies is really important. I definitely get that.
Yep.
So my last question for you is I want to get to more of the the founder of things because I think that we kind of talked about more marketing stuff, but I wanted to ask you, what do you personally think is the most crucial for someone trying to be successful in starting a marketing agency?
Um, you g you gotta commit. You can't go in it, like, half-assed, like, excuse my French, but You need to fully commit into it. It's starting out, it's a lot of work. It's frustrating. Um, obviously you're in a very, very saturated market like we were just talking about with, whether it's a creative agency, it doesn't really matter. Whatever the industry is, it's a very saturated industry. So there's everyone's always, grabbing for the same business. So starting out, a lot of times you're going to take what you can get. I think networking is important to, um, get in front of other people that are already in the industry, and having those connections so that maybe something comes up and someone's willing to give you a chance. Like that's how it really need. That's how I started. Is really just kind of going out, left a corporate work, corporate job, started my own agency, and just evolved from there by having connections already in the marketing field, and knowing other people that were standalone agencies as well that maybe have been doing something else. What can I provide that maybe they're not doing? So if
Mhm.
like if my in was someone that is running an email marketing agency and that's all they do, I'm coming in and say, hey, I can run your paid traffic on on Meta and Instagram for you. Um, and again, from there, it's just like you can't just coast. You need to continue to grind and find and build that client base. I think the more and longer you're established, and can build that credibility of yourself, as a brand and as a marketer, you're going to get better opportunities that are going to bode better for you. And then you'll be as you start building up too, you'll be able to provide that level of assertiveness in terms of like what your expertise is, and dictate, what you can charge a client too, versus just
Mhm.
taking the bare minimum of whatever that is when you're first starting out. So,
Yeah, you
um,
can develop
there's
that.
definitely a lot to it. I don't think there is one way or another that's right or wrong, but it's the overarching theme, I think, is, you need to commit 100% and, open your doors to basically anyone that's already in that field, and can hook you in with other groups and other networks, within the marketing field.
I think that is incredibly sound advice. Thank you really very much. I think that a lot of people do want or feel inspired to start a business, but they aren't really all in it. And I think
Yeah,
that that's something that's super crucial to being able to be successful is not only being passionate about it, but also always trying to be innovative and find new ways to do things. And what you said about the pricing too, I think is something that people definitely adapt to be better at. Whereas I think they kind of learn um, not only more respect for themselves, because I think in the beginning, when you start, you kind of have to accept a lot of business that maybe you don't want, or you have to deal with
yeah.
someone who's not easy to deal with, but is paying your bills. But I think that, it's really nice to get to a point where you're able to work with your ideal client, as much as possible.
And you can say no to clients too, or potential prospects.
Yes. Exactly, yeah, I think the ability to say n great place to be.
Yeah,
I think that it's not, I think it makes for, a good relationship makes for a good, outcome for work.
absolutely,
It's, you're
absolutely.
not as inspired if someone's, yelling at you for throughout an entire process. Or not
No,
being respectful.
nope, that does not bode well for anyone involved.
No, it does not. Well, thank you so much. I think I learned a lot from this and I really appreciate it. I know that our audience will too. I appreciate you, kind of doing this in the spur of the moment. It's definitely very appreciated. I think you did a fantastic job.
All good, all good.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
everyone
Well, I
also for
appreciate it as well,
watching.
Shannon. Thank you for having me on with you guys. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching and or listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to learn more things like we did today. I appreciate it. Have a lovely day.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.